Have you ever noticed that some average-looking guys, no sports cars, no designer suits, somehow become the center of attention wherever they go? Meanwhile, other men with power, money, and everything society says women should want get completely ignored like they're invisible. It's not magic. It's not luck. And no, it's not about game or pickup lines either. It's something ancient. Something that goes all the way back to the Stoic wisdom of Marcus Aurelius. And once you learn it, the way women respond to you will change forever. So stay with me until the end, because by the last minute of this video, you'll understand why money is overrated and why real attraction comes from something far deeper. Let's get started. Let me take you back, way back to ancient Rome. Marcus Aurelius wasn't just an emperor. He was one of the greatest philosophers to ever live. In his private writings, he dropped a timeless truth. The things you think about determine the quality of your mind. Your soul takes on the color of your thoughts. Think about that for a second. Your inner world, the way you think, the way you carry yourself, literally shapes how others feel around you. Women sense this. Not always consciously, but instinctively. A man might use money to cover up his fears or insecurities, but his true character always finds a way to show itself through his eyes, his posture, his energy. Let me share a story. There was once a young Roman soldier named Cassius. He wasn't rich. He didn't come from noble blood, no status, no fancy clothes. Yet, when he walked through the streets, women whispered about him. Why? Because he had presence, confidence, that quiet power you can't fake. Meanwhile, wealthy senators dressed in silk and dripping with gold rings often stood alone at banquets, puzzled, wondering why the most beautiful women seemed to glance past them like they weren't even there. Cassius didn't have more. He was more. Now, let me ask you something personal. Can you remember the very first time you fell for someone? Really fell for them? Maybe it was a girl from school, maybe a coworker, or maybe someone you met entirely by accident. But something about her was different, wasn't it? It wasn't just her looks. It was something more. Something harder to put into words. Maybe it was the way she smiled at you, like you were the only one in the room. Maybe it was the way time seemed to slow down when she was near. Now flip that feeling around. Let's talk about what really makes a man unforgettable in her eyes. So if presence is what made her feel like she was the only one in the world, then what happens when that presence is missing? When a woman feels deeply seen, heard, and felt, that's presence. And here's the truth. It's not about your jawline. It's not about your biceps. It's not about how many zeros are in your bank account. It's about one thing. Making her feel like, in that exact moment, she truly matters. Right here, right now. Most guys don't get this. They mess it up without even realizing. They're checking their phones, thinking about what to say next, trying to act cool instead of just being there. But the moment you drop all that noise and just lock in, the moment you let everything else fade and actually see her, that's when something shifts. Marcus Aurelius captured it perfectly. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Presence is power. Let me tell you a story. Years ago, I knew a guy, tall, good-looking, had a decent job. From the outside, he had everything going for him. But one by one, women would lose interest. Ghosted, faded, gone. He didn't understand why. Until one day, someone close finally told him the brutal truth. Man, you're never really with them. You're physically there, but mentally gone. You're always chasing the next thing, the next line, the next moment, and you're missing the one you're in. That truth hit him like a punch to the gut. From that day on, he made one decision. He would give people, especially women, he cared about, his full attention. Not needy, not clingy, just real, grounded, focused. The very next woman he dated told him something that stuck with him forever. When you look at me, it's like I'm the only person who exists. That's the kind of presence that makes someone feel alive. That's the kind of presence that sets you apart, not just in love, but in life. Now take a second to reflect. Have you ever lost someone? Not because you didn't care, but because you weren't really there? Have you ever looked back at a moment and thought, damn, if only I had been more present? This isn't just some motivational lesson. This is your story, right now. And you get to write the next chapter. So let's talk about what comes next. Because presence alone isn't enough. There's something else you need to hold on to. Something every woman feels on a gut level, even if she can't explain it. Let's talk about purpose. So we just talked about purpose, that deep, steady direction that gives a man strength and makes a woman feel safe. Now let's go a little deeper. Marcus Aurelius once wrote in his Meditations, "Do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about others. It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." What was he really trying to say? He was saying, stop obsessing over what others think. Stop chasing things that don't build you. Start focusing on your mission, on what you were born to do. Here's something most men never realize. Women aren't just attracted to you as a person. They're attracted to the direction you're headed in. Think about it like this. Imagine a ship sailing out at sea. It might look beautiful, polished wood, perfect sails, smooth design. But if it's just drifting, aimless, with no clear destination, no woman wants to stay on board for long. Why? Because following a man with no direction feels unsafe. It feels unstable. But now picture another ship, maybe not as flashy, but with a confident captain at the helm. Even when the waves rise and storms roll in, he stands tall, steering with purpose. That's the kind of presence that draws people in. That's the kind of man women want to follow. That's purpose. Let me share a quick story. A friend of mine, let's call him David, fell deeply in love with a woman. They had real chemistry. The laughs were constant. The affection was real. But underneath it all, he had no direction. No real goals, no vision. He bounced from job to job. Spent hours scrolling through social media. Played video games, waited for her texts. In a way, he was hoping she would give his life meaning. Then she left. Not because he was a bad guy. Not because he wasn't attractive. But because she couldn't feel safe with a man who didn't even know where he was going. It broke him. But it also woke him up. He stopped asking, why doesn't she love me anymore? And started asking, who do I need to become so I never feel this lost again? That's when everything shifted. He focused. He learned new skills. He stopped trying to impress her and started building a version of himself he could be proud of. And guess what? Women started noticing, not because of what he said, but because of who he was becoming. Even his ex reached out again. Because when a man finds his purpose, it radiates from him. You can't fake it. You can't hide it. So now, ask yourself, honestly, what direction is your life heading in right now? Because here's the truth. A man with purpose doesn't need to chase women. They chase him. because he's already on a path towards something greater. And brother, this is your moment. This is your turning point. But there's one more trait that could either strengthen or destroy everything we've talked about so far. Let's talk about emotional control. So we just talked about the power of purpose, about being a man who knows where he's going. But even with that strength, there's something that can tear it all down in seconds. Losing control of your emotions. Because no matter how confident or focused you seem, if you can't manage your reactions in difficult moments, it all starts to unravel. Let me tell you something I had to learn the hard way. Losing control of your emotions is the fastest way to lose her respect. I want to share a story with you. You might see yourself in it, or maybe someone you know. There was this guy I knew a few years back. Let's call him Josh. He was a great guy. Funny, smart, charming. And then he met this woman who completely lit him up. You know that feeling when just one text from her changes your whole mood. She says, "Hey," and suddenly your whole day feels brighter. But one night, something shifted. She took a little longer to reply. Her messages started to feel colder, more distant. You could see it happening, that slow sinking fade. And if you've felt that before, you know how heavy it hits. Instead of staying grounded, Josh did what so many guys do. He panicked. First it was a double text, then a triple, then the long paragraph. "Why are you acting like this? What did I do wrong?" Emotional outbursts. He lost his center, and the saddest part? He knew he was losing her. And his emotional spiral only made things worse. So, why does this happen? Marcus Aurelius said it best. You don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you. That's power. Emotional control. That's what separates boys from men. Women are naturally emotional, but they don't want a man who adds more chaos to the storm. They want someone who stays calm within the storm. Someone who grounds them, not someone who spins out of control with them. Think about it. How safe does a woman feel when the man she's with is more reactive than she is? How attractive is that? Not very, but when a woman pulls back, when she tests you, gives you attitude, goes quiet, and you stay solid, steady, unshaken, that's when her respect shoots through the roof. And here's the twist in Josh's story. When he finally stopped overreacting, when he found his center, set boundaries, and stayed calm, she came back. She apologized, and the relationship grew stronger. Why? Because no woman can fully fall in love with a man who can't love himself enough to hold the line. Now, take a moment and ask yourself, have you let people cross lines they shouldn't have? Are you living by your values or bending just to please others? Because here's a powerful truth. A man without boundaries is like a castle with no walls, easy to invade, easy to conquer. But a man with strong, calm, unshakable boundaries, he becomes the prize. And women crave that kind of quiet strength more than you think. So now we've talked about presence, purpose, and emotional control. But there's one more trait that pulls it all together. A trait that makes a woman lean in and wonder, who is this man really? Let's talk about mystery. So we just talked about boundaries and emotional control, the kind of inner strength that commands respect. But now let's explore something more subtle, something quieter, yet incredibly powerful. Mystery. You ever notice how the moment someone says something intriguing, or leaves just enough unsaid, your mind starts racing? You can't stop thinking about them. You start wondering, who are they really? What are they not telling me? That feeling, that pull, It's the magic of mystery. And here's a truth no one really teaches us as men. Women are drawn to mystery. Not because they enjoy playing games, but because mystery creates emotional tension, and that tension fuels desire. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Now apply that here. If you reveal everything about yourself too soon, if you're constantly available, if you overshare every single detail of your life from the jump, there's no color left to fill in, no intrigue, no space for her to wonder about you, to think about you when you're not around. And that's the key. Women don't fall in love with men they understand completely on day one. They fall for the man who lingers in their mind long after he's gone. The one they can't quite figure out yet. Let me give you an example. There was a guy I knew, let's call him Ryan. He was handsome, funny, kind, easy to talk to. But every time he met a new woman, he made the same mistake. He told her everything. His life story, past heartbreaks, family drama, childhood fears, big dreams. All of it, right there on the first or second date. Now sure, it came from a place of honesty. But you know what else it was? Predictable, overexposed, and kind of boring. There was no space for her to discover him. No layers to peel back. No mystery to unfold. So the spark faded. Every time, the connection burned bright, and then burned out. Then one day, Ryan did something different. He stopped giving away the whole book up front. He started sharing himself in pieces, like chapters in a story. And if a woman asked something deep or personal too early, he'd just smile and say, "Maybe I'll tell you that next time." It was simple, but powerful. He wasn't playing games. He was holding his center. And suddenly, women started leaning in. Because now, Ryan wasn't just a man. He was a puzzle. A story worth reading. And here's the thing. Women love solving emotional puzzles, especially when the man they're figuring out knows his worth. So pause for a second and ask yourself, are you giving too much of yourself away, too fast? Or are you letting her unwrap you slowly, layer by layer, like a novel she just can't put down? Because the truth is this, men who overshare become safe. They become the friend, predictable, forgettable. But men who hold just enough back, who leave room for curiosity, they become obsessions. And you deserve that kind of pull. The kind of energy that makes her think, why do I keep thinking about him? What's going on in that mind of his? So how do you balance this without coming off distant or fake? Let's talk about that next. So now you understand the power of mystery. How being just a little unpredictable keeps her curious and emotionally engaged. But curiosity alone isn't enough. If you really want her to open up, to feel safe, to fully trust you, you need to embody one final trait: leadership. Have you ever been with someone who said they liked you, maybe even loved you, but deep down, you felt like something was missing? It wasn't her words. It was her energy. A slight hesitation. A wall still up. Like some part of her wasn't fully ready to surrender. Here's why most men miss this. Women don't crave love first. They crave leadership. Sure, she might enjoy your sense of humor. She might be attracted to your body, your kindness, your vibe. But if she doesn't trust your direction, your ability to lead, she never fully relax around you. And without that, you'll never experience the kind of deep, loyal, feminine love that makes you feel like a king. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Read that again. Stop talking about who you want to be. Start becoming him. Because women don't fall for the man who talks about someday. They fall for the man who leads today. Now don't confuse leadership with control. It's not about bossing anyone around. True leadership is quieter, deeper. It's about direction, clarity, stability. It's about making decisions with confidence and creating safety, not through your words, but through your consistent actions. Let me share a story you might relate to. Guy I knew, we'll call him Jason, started dating this woman who had it all: beauty, intelligence, ambition. The kind of woman other guys are quietly chasing behind the scenes. But Jason made one critical mistake. Every time they planned something, he'd ask, "Where do you want to eat? What do you feel like doing? I don't care, you decide." Sounds polite, right? Respectful? But to her, it felt passive, directionless. She never said it directly, but slowly, her attraction started to fade. Because here's the truth. If a woman doesn't feel led, she either starts leading you, or she leaves to find a man who will. And nobody teaches us this growing up. Here's the truth we should have learned. The feminine wants to surrender, but only when the masculine energy is strong, grounded, and worthy of that surrender. Leadership doesn't mean you never ask for her opinion. It means you're not afraid to decide. It means you say, "We're going here tonight. I think you'll love it." Simple, steady, strong. And when you live like that, not just with women, but in your entire life, you become magnetic. Not just to her, to the world. Because leadership is rare, and rare is valuable. So now ask yourself, are you leading, or are you following? Because here's the truth. A man who can lead his own life will naturally lead in relationships. And when a woman feels that energy, calm, certain, and directed, she doesn't just want you. She trusts you. And when a woman trusts you, she gives you everything. This is your story now. This is your moment to become that man. Not to impress her, not to win points, but because this is who you were meant to be. So let me ask you one last time. Do you want to be the man who buys attention, or the man who earns devotion? The choice is yours. If you're ready to build a life where you don't chase attraction, attraction chases you. Keep coming back to this message. Rewatch it when you need strength. Rewatch it when you feel yourself slipping. And never forget the traits we talked about: presence, purpose, emotional control, mystery, leadership. They're not techniques. They're standards. Live them, and watch your entire world change. Thanks for watching. And remember, you were never meant to beg for love. You were meant to become the kind of man who naturally receives it.